publicize this so much. You're actually the first person. Hello, everybody. You're the first guest that I realized I need to be publicizing this more and more and more. So I went all out on you. You're the first one.
I saw the tweets everywhere. I retweeted. I did my due diligence.
Amazing. Yes, you did a great job.
I even memed you.
You memed me?
I made that meme, like dropping knowledge.
I don't know if I saw that actually. Now that you
retweeted that, I memed you.
Oh, God, maybe I had my people retweet it. I'm just kidding. I don't have people. I probably
welcome to Entrepreneur Land
with my name, and I'm like, oh, poop. I should retweet that. You know what? That's probably I probably should get into that habit. I should probably read the things before I retweet them, just in case.
What's interesting is what's great about talking to a recovering journalist, you know, visual journalist that was on TV. It's not a problem finding headshots.
No,
and they're all good headshots. Whereas like I trying to Rand Fishkin.
About me? Oh, trust me, they're not all good headshots.
I found some cute.
You out the good headshots.
You go to page 2 or 3. I promise you'll find plenty of not so hot ones.
All right. Well, anyhow, I mean, I Rand, you know, one of our previous guys, Rand Fishkin, who ran Moz and it's Sparturo. He has great headshots, but they're all tiny.
Oh yeah, no.
Because they're all optimized for Google.
Yeah.
So I had to write him. I had to say, dude, send me a bigger headshot, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got probably lots of big pictures of my cranium and face.
Yeah. No complaints. There you go. All right. Now we shoot the fat a little bit more. We are live. We are with Kerry Barrett of Kerry Barrett Consulting, and we are going to start in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everyone, and welcome to season 2, episodes. Are we
17?
I always get it wrong. Every time I always get it wrong because I question myself. Are we on episode 17? We are on episode 17. Okay, good. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, everyone. Welcome to season 2, episode 17 of the Digital Marketing Dive podcast. I'm Seth with Goldstein Media. With me is always the amazing, talented, kick-ass COERPG13. Yes. Shannon of Diam Business Consulting.
Woohoo!
And with us, we have the esteemed pleasure of having royalty with us.
Who's that?
Kerry Barrett. She's looking around like, what? Kerry Barrett of Kerry Barrett Consulting. Exactly.
Oh, wait. Well, thank you. That is certainly high praise. I am happy to be here and so excited to talk to both of you and everybody watching.
Exactly. So Kerry is a recovering. Kerry is a recovering broadcast journalist at Emmy Award-winning. I can't speak. Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist. She's actually was down in Philly for a little while there. She talked about when we talked last time, we swapped war stories about Kelly Drive and almost getting run over.
Yes.
So she's experienced the Philly. She also was in New York. Yeah. And that's where you kind of said, all right, I'm done.
Indeed. It was time to go. It had been time to go for a long time, honestly. And not because of any one thing, just a series.
Journalism takes a lot out of you.
What's that?
Journalism takes a lot out of you. I can talk from personal experience.
It takes a lot out of you. I mean, and I will say, and I know everybody says this, and it sounds like such a platitude, but it really is true. I genuinely enjoy the people that I worked with. Sure. A newsroom, pre-COVID anyway, is super dynamic. It's fun. It's exciting. A lot of big personalities, very smart, witty, diverse, the whole 9 yards. It was always a stimulating place to be. But after 20 years of getting up almost exclusively at 1:30 a.m., I was a disaster by the time that I left, and I had started to resent not just the business but my job because like I said, I was just a mess from top to bottom, inside and out.
20 years of that. I lasted 6.
Yeah,
I lasted 6 in that, and I was a newspaper journalist. But
yeah, and you're only 25, so I mean, look what it did to you.
Nice, Kerry. I like you.
Yeah, there you go. But so Kerry is now in the entrepreneur world, and she is the chief bottle washer of Kerry Barrett Consulting,
Right.
which is, how would you describe it? You're a brand ambassador, a video brand presence expert. I had a lot of trouble trying to hone in on what exactly is Kerry.
Well, you know what? I had some trouble honing in on that too. And I'm still figuring it out because it's changed a little bit over the last 12 months. And it depends a little bit on who I'm talking to in terms of what service I offer that may be beneficial to them and their business or personal brand. So, in a nutshell, I've taken what I've learned over those 20 years on camera, and I'm now using that to help my clients expand their digital presence through their on-camera appearance, delivery, and messaging, and through their visual storytelling, meaning the videos that they use and put out there and that they create. Now, that means something that's a little bit different depending on the audience that I'm talking to. If I'm talking to somebody who is either a C-suite executive or a business owner and is looking to leverage their expertise to garner media exposure, to expand their visibility, their credibility, help with recruitment, grow their social following, whatever, that sort of applies across the board. So I have a media training program, and then I have a PR arm of my company as well. If you are a business owner who is looking to create video content, then that's a different sort of program. Right. That is perhaps training to be on camera, depending on your skill set, and then content creation and creating video brand stories and smaller clips for social. So again, you're expanding your presence, but you're not looking to generate media exposure through it. Mm-hmm. Then I have small businesses who are looking to learn how to create DIY marketing videos, right? They need something that's not super time consuming and doesn't place a heavy toll on their budget, in which case I have a DIY marketing program that teaches small business owners and medium-sized business owners and people who work for corporations as well, who are encouraged to have a personal brand, how to create marketing videos that don't take 2 hours to shoot, take 2 minutes. You like how you look at the end of them, and they actually do what you need them to do.
Perfect.
Love it. Shannon
company too, on sort of
what's that?
There's a production arm as well of KBC, so editing video, shooting video, creating and scripting, and helping companies put together their video messaging.
Oh, that's fun.
So I got to tell you, as a small business owner, the whole idea of videos, I do videos, I do content creation, right? But it's literally, I'm just pulling out a phone and doing the video because everything else surrounding it stresses me the heck out. So I love that you are out there teaching that, because I am very much just today before my jog, I pulled out my phone and did a video, right? Like
there's something about what you do, Shannon. It's so genuine.
Yeah.
It's so genuine and so wackadoo on you. You know, it's perfect.
Well,
and I feel like there's different. And I feel like there's different things for different people.
We're gonna pretend that it's because that's the exact image I was going for, and not that I'm stressed out about everything else when making a video.
9 times out of 10, any sort of content creation, even on the news, is all smoke and mirrors. So you just have to learn to live with that, and everything is fine. Nobody has to see all the silly putty and chewing gum that's holding everything together.
I love it. I love it.
The front part, like the back of my hair, a mess. The front part, it's not bad. Yeah, it's back, but nevertheless.
And the amount of makeup they put on, even the guys, like if you walk in real life, it's like you look like a clown.
I call it something for myself that I probably shouldn't say on here, but yes, it's the painted bird. I'll go with that instead.
Painted bird. I'll go with that. There you go. So, all right. So you live the journalism life. You know, you live that dream. Now you live an entrepreneurial dream. Both are known for a stressful work-life balance. But they're very different, and I can vouch for that, doing both. One, you get up at like the crack of dawn and work till forever. Another one, you can wake when you up.
Is that the entrepreneur life?
Right.
Exactly.
An entrepreneur, you just don't stop ever.
Hold on. This sounds
Exactly. So what is the difference in work-life balance for you? Because I know you have 3 kiddos, a husband. I think you even have a dog.
I do. She's
Who's
normally
around this.
behind me. I was just trying to see if she's normally laying
So
on my
you
floor.
really have 4 kids,
Yeah.
4.5 kids, because your husband's always a kid too. So yeah, 4.5 kids.
So he's all right. I shouldn't rip on him too much. He's fairly responsible. Oh boy, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a quick taste about how I jumped into this world. I left the news business. This is the abridged version, and I had no idea what I was going to do. So many people who leave the news business go into PR. It's sort of right. It's the opposite side of the same coin, and that's sort of what I assumed that I would do, but I didn't know what I know what PR does, but I don't know what the day-to-day looks like, and really what are the ins and outs, and what sort of position could I expect to enter into that industry in, And so I was networking and trying to put all those pieces together. And I remember I met with a woman who did PR and communications for one of the large law firms in the city. And she said, you know what? You're crazy to think about going back into the corporate world. You have this skill set that not a lot of people have, that is widely needed, especially in the age of, video content being king. And people would pay you to fix their issues or problems, and they pay you well, and you go in and fix them or train them or whatever it is. And then you go on to the next one. And I was like, oh, wow.
Owning your business sounds so easy, doesn't it?
Well, you know what? Well, I came home that night and I told my husband, I'm going to start my own business. And he's like, what? You don't know how to balance a checkbook, which is true. And I'm like, that's okay. I'll figure it out. And now we're 2 years later. I think I just hit my 2-year anniversary. Thank you. When I tell you I was 2 years, when I tell you it was 6 months into this before I even knew what a P&L was, that's not a lie.
Well, don't feel bad. I'm 13 years into my business. I literally just figured out how to read one.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, then you can teach
you're
me.
Doing
my
great.
My wife just taught me how to do it because my wife really runs the business side, like the books and stuff. So don't feel bad. So I just figured out the P&L.
P's are good. L's are bad.
Yes.
Is that generally okay? Anything beyond that, I need you to explain to me. And I had no flipping idea what I was getting into. I just thought, I got to start this. A few months down the road, I'll be making money. It's all good, right? And lo and behold, that's not how it works. Shocker.
No.
But I will tell you this. I've been challenged in ways that I have not been challenged before. I 100% love it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking with this until the day I die or retire. And I don't think I could ever listen. If you're watching this and you have a great job offer, give me a call. But I don't think that I could ever go back and work for someone else again. I really and truly do not. I work for my clients right now. And if something is going particularly difficult, or a client is not living up to their end of the bargain and making my life hell, I can fire that client. Listen to that. That's like a different set of freedom. I don't do that very often, but I have done it once or twice with a partnership that just wasn't working, right? And it was on good terms. But I love the freedom that this gives me. The first 2 years, total thrash, like working like I've never worked before, running around much like I was during breaking news in the newsroom, sometimes with barely a minute to pee in between calls, but I am completely enamored with it, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
That's like that. Yeah, that's like me on Table for Four.
Yeah,
and that's a networking group that Kerry sponsors, and it's an hour long. You get literally a Zoom table of 4.
Yeah,
and by the end of it, I have to pee so bad. I'm sitting there. I'm like, can this just end? I'm enjoying my conversations, but this is hilarious.
But that is entrepreneurship in a nutshell, right? There are these huge pitfalls and stressors and those kinds of things, but there is a challenge to it and a upside and a freedom and an independence to it, and that sense of creating something and developing something. It is not for everyone, but those who are like grasp hold of it and understand what it fully is, just like you're doing, right? We end up working way more than we think we're ever going to. We don't see everything in the business until we get into it, and like you said, we stumble our way through, right? But it is just this amazing thing. And so for everyone who's watching, we talk to a lot to small business owners and entrepreneurs. We were talking about that story brand of what, you're talking about helping people develop that. What are the most essential parts of that? Because that's a huge buzzword right now, right?
Yeah.
In marketing, but it's so important. So how do you instruct people to build that story brand so people can latch hold of it and really connect with what they're saying?
So there should, as with many questions, the answer depends. And I hate saying
I love the answer. It depends. Period.
It depends. Sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. All right. No, it does depend a little bit on the audience, or a lot of it on the audience, as does everything. What you think your best story is as a business owner or as an entrepreneur or whatever it is not necessarily always the best story for your audience. So you need to know who your audience is. Part of that is researching, right? When you're creating video content for social media, what audience are you reaching on each platform, right? LinkedIn is different than Facebook, is different than Twitter, is different than TikTok, is different than, YouTube. And what sorts of content are consumed, meaning how long are they? What are the messages? What is the vibe or the feel on each one of those contents? And then who are you, or each one of those platforms, excuse me. And then who specifically are you looking to target, right? So if you're B2B, LinkedIn is the obvious place for you. Right. If you're B2C, or if you're a little B2B and a little B2C, the way I am, there's different spots for you on all of those different platforms. So creating a story doesn't have to be a huge, long process. It is the thing that makes you unique. It's the thing that makes you stand out. It's the thing that lets your clients see like your pain through their eyes and their pain through your eyes, how the two mesh and how you can help. And so, for example, when I am pitching the fact that I am also a public speaking coach, which I'm not doing as much of right now, it's mostly on camera presentation coaching, but pre-COVID and hopefully post, we'll be back to coaching in person. And most people come into that with a lot of baggage, right? People don't like public speaking for any number of reasons. And there's a little bit of therapy that goes along with this as well. And so a story that's appropriate for that audience would be, I used to be terrified of public speaking, not a normal rational fear, but a back of the room in the fetal position, probably in a puddle of my own vomit, like passed out, hyperventilating, terrified of public speaking. How did I overcome that? Well, here was the secret to my success. Here's what it led me to, and here's how I can help you. That is a story that resonates with that particular audience. So key point number one is finding out what audience and what story are applicable. I think the other part is making sure that your story does not take too long to tell. So stories stick with people longer than data and statistics. Data and statistics are certainly important. They're the things that make people say, oh my God, I didn't realize that, blah, 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 blah. But what will hang with them is the emotional connection that you got with your story. So you need to make sure that your story touches on usually one of four key emotions, right? It's anxiety, it's outrage, it's inspiration, and it's humor. And I'm lumping humor in with the emotions because it's a big one. And right now we could all use a laugh. And if you can create a video that has a story that gets people to smile, you're 75% of the way to the finish line.
I love that.
The third key is making sure that your story length is one that is appropriate for your platform. So for example, I generally consider the sweet spot for your average marketing video to be about 2 minutes, right? You can certainly post longer on IGTV, up to an hour. You can post whatever on YouTube. You can post, I think 10 minutes native on LinkedIn. So your story itself, generally the sweet spot is 2 minutes, maybe 3, maybe 5 if you're a really compelling speaker. Your story just needs to be 30 seconds and it needs to be compelling, and you need to get to it close to the top if it's important to your audience. And for
don't bury the lead.
Don't bury the lead. So I'll give you an example. I watched a guy who is a videographer, and he put a post up on LinkedIn, I think it was, about the difference that good lighting can make in someone's shot. And he was going from bad lighting to good lighting, except he took like 45 seconds to get to the transformation. And the first 45 seconds were just him rambling on. Show me that transformation right up top within like the first 10 seconds, and then go back and tell me about all the differences that went into getting from point A to point B. That in itself, that transformation, that was his story. So make sure you get to that compelling part as soon as you possibly can, preferably within the first 8 seconds.
There you go.
That's a great point, because there's so much put on authenticity and connecting with your audience and that kind of stuff. And I see that a lot in videos, and I'm guilty of it at times in videos, having almost a one-sided conversation.
Yeah.
And so people lose exactly, why are we even on here? Why are we even on this video? So I like the conciseness of taking that to the very beginning. Well,
and I also think too, it does depend a little bit on what you're looking to do. There's differences in putting out thought leadership pieces or commentary on something that's going on in the news cycle, for example, or as it relates to, I don't know, I'm pulling this out of thin air, the PPP loans or whatever.
Sure.
Right. And those sorts of videos are slightly different, but right, you're giving helpful information, or you're providing education in some way to whoever is watching it. At the end of the day, it comes down to knowing who you're talking to, on which platform you're talking to them, and what they want to hear from you that you can deliver quickly, concisely, and compellingly.
Love it.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, actually, let's talk about something compelling. Is wearing a mask. And
yes.
That's our sponsor. Trying to find segues here, and I suck at them.
Yeah, that was
that was a stretch. But let's thank our sponsor, Breezy Masks. I actually wrote out a much better ad, and I'm not really delaying the lead here. But so we're pretty much out of the pandemic. We're still dealing with it, but we're getting out of it slowly. Masks still need to be worn. Just because you need to wear a mask doesn't mean you have to be uncomfortable wearing that mask. This is where our Breezy masks come in. They have silver nano protection. They are breathable, lightweight, and fog-free. There's 2 kinds, and I'll get the names right this time. There's the Exchange, and there's a Sport. The Exchange, think of it being more protective. There's 5 layers with that silver nano technology. And then there's a Sport for people running around, breathing heavy, which is more breathable, 2 layers of protection. And then it also still has the silver nanotechnology. So wear those masks, people. I know today I was at the playground, and for once my son was able to play with his peers on the playground, because the grandmother was wise enough to hand the 2 brothers that he was playing with masks so that they could all play together. And it warmed me heart and soul that my son actually got some interaction with some peers, and it was great. So wear those masks. Get some Breezy masks. Heck, get the disposables if you just have masks. Keep them going. So also another place to wear a good mask is Shannon's upcoming event in Indianapolis.
Yes, because we're letting 20 people come in live and in person. Super excited. So end of February.
We're not even February. Whoa. Wow. I'm rubbing off on you here.
Wow.
End of April 23rd, Friday, April 23rd, Indianapolis, Cohatch and Noblesville. We shout out to Cohatch, by the way. Woo! Awesome place, growing like crazy, great for small business owners, entrepreneurs. But we are hosting for entrepreneurs, small business owners. We are coming out of the pandemic. Everything's changed, right? Let's link arms and help support you in this. So Diam and Leadstra have linked up and are doing this. We have a financial specialist for small business owners, right? We have marketing, we have sales, and we have operations. And so it's going to be a full day. We are doing it virtually as well. Check out the link. It's going to be great. It's really going to help start moving small business owners forward out of kind of the mire that's pulled us all down through COVID and really start making that transition forward.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And now back to Kerry.
Kerry,
God, I'm so corny. Sorry.
I am super curious, right? You have totally different career paths, right? Yeah. And I am immersed with my company in the small business world. That's what we do. We build teams behind small business owners and entrepreneurs, right? What was the biggest shock to your system as far as when you jumped into entrepreneur world?
This probably is going to sound a little bit bizarre. It was the pace of things. It was much slower than I was used to. I'm used to an email goes out, you get an immediate reply. There is a problem. The problem is fixed ASAP, and the turnaround is a little bit slower. And I tend to
be nice,
right?
You're being very nice. The turnaround being a little bit slower.
Like, I don't understand why this project is taking a year. What? Yes. I cannot fathom what is going on. I had an email campaign that went out this week that was a complete beep bleep show, and I didn't have anything to do with it. Unfortunately, it went live without my approval, and it was all full of all sorts of mistakes. And if you happen to get one, I apologize. And I, of course, immediately emailed the person in charge of putting this email campaign together. And I'm like, this is a dumpster fire. Like, fix it. And it was forever till I got a response. I don't know if that's normal, but that sort of thing has taken a little bit of getting used to. Yeah. I'm very urgent in everything that I do, and that's not how the rest of the world works, I've learned.
No, it's very different.
A small business thing, right? Because so many small business owners are trying to do everything themselves.
I think that's a big, big part of it. And I have to recognize that too. I come from a different background where it doesn't matter what you have to do to meet a deadline. If you have to pull 3 all-nighters in a row, that's what you do. And that's not normal. I have come to learn.
That is not normal, working 30 hours in a 24-hour period.
Who knew? So I've had to dial back my urgency just a little bit.
There you go.
Okay.
What's been the most rewarding thing so far for you? Versus, because in journalism, you won. Heck, to be literal, you won an Emmy. Yeah, it's an awarding thing, pun intended.
Yeah, girl, that's pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
It's not that impressive, trust me. They practically give them out. Boy, what has been the most rewarding? There's a lot that's been rewarding. Number one, I think, has been the huge number of supportive people I've met over the past 2 years. And I always had, the news business is a very small industry. You're only a degree or 2 separated from just about anybody that works in the business across the country, maybe 3 degrees. And so it's tight. Doesn't always get along, but it's tight. Everybody knows everybody else. I wasn't expecting that here. And depends a little bit on the circles that you're in, but I found this amazing group of people who is wildly supportive and, you know, not only there to help me with business, but also to pick me up when the day is crappy, i.e. the email campaign that went out this week. And that has been, I was worried about losing that sense of camaraderie, working on my own, for myself, by myself. And that was an unfounded concern. I have been very pleasantly delighted to find out.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that is really rewarding is just that my name is on this stuff. When I help a client, or when somebody says, oh my gosh, you were really great on that presentation, I learned so much. I know I put that presentation together. Like it's just, there's a sense of, I don't know if it's accomplishment or gratitude or independence, or maybe all of those mixed together. That's me. You know, when I go out and speak on behalf of Kerry Barrett Consulting, I have a much different feeling at the end of a speaking engagement that I did when I spoke on behalf of one of the networks that I was at. Those were great too, but this is me, and it's a whole different feeling.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good question. I think Shannon put this one in here. What is your favorite network? You've been on it quite a bit. This is mine, actually. I was thinking network being like TV, but I wrote this. So sorry about that. What's your favorite social media network? I should have.
Okay. I was like, oh, I can't play that.
Yeah.
NBC. Like,
what is your favorite social media network? I mean, you are a LinkedIn darling. I mean, you're out there.
Thanks.
People follow you. I mean, your Friday chats with Lorena and, you know, the gang.
Yeah, they're fun.
And Vicky are hilarious. They're fun. They're full of knowledge, and they're a complete hoot. And I try not to troll you too much on those, but they're fun.
You know what? There's been a couple of moments where I was like, oh God, if we were on TV, we would definitely be getting a heavy fine right now.
Yeah. Oh God, FCC. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. You know, content and words. Boy, my favorites. So I would have to say right now it's LinkedIn or Instagram. And the reason that I have those two differing ideas is, right, when I'm talking to businesses, I get a lot of traction on LinkedIn. But when I'm talking to consumers or solopreneurs for like digital programs that I am selling, or podcast that's launching, I find that's where I get a lot of traction, and it's a little more visual. LinkedIn is great for reaching out and reaching up to people who are in larger organizations than I am, and who have, you know, bigger names than I do. I've found huge success in reaching out through LinkedIn to get people on my podcast, who normally, especially pre-COVID, I would have thought, without an audience on your podcast yet, you probably don't have a chance of scoring them. And yet they've
honestly, you know, you just ask. Like, honestly, I've had Ted Rubin on. I've had Mark Schaefer on the show. I mean, I've had some pretty big names.
Yeah.
And I've just asked.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. I might go with Seth Godin at some point, and I hear that he's all in on doing these podcasts.
Well, I think that's part of it. It goes back to that camaraderie, right? We are all in this together. And I think if COVID had any positive effect, it is driving home that point. We are all doing it. And when we link arms and move forward together in this entrepreneurial crazy world, right, that no one seems to understand until you're in it, when we start moving forward, it's a beautiful thing. And I think that we understand, whatever level we're at, we understand where each other are. We understand what we're going for. We understand the obsession that goes along with it, right? The passion, all that good stuff. And so helping each other and it is a very tight community for the most part.
It is. And I had no idea how big it was. I really didn't. And I'm sort of ashamed to say that. Like, I came from a news background, which is in essence corporate. And I never realized how big the entrepreneur and small business community was. Everybody else I knew worked in corporate. You know, I don't think I ever really knew any small business owners that I can think of off the top of my head. And I had no idea how large and tight knit that community was.
I think aren't we like the biggest segment of the U.S. But seriously, as a journalist, I didn't even know that. And I was covering local newspaper, Gettysburg. And there's a shopkeeper. There's those entrepreneurs. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
No,
but I didn't know there were people like Shannon out there.
Right.
Hiding in her apartment or going gallivanting around the world, doing her stuff. I didn't know that.
Are you gallivanting around the world?
I have not, but we just took on our first international client. I think that's probably what he's talking about. At this point. Yeah, I want to take a business. I want to take a business trip to Bruges.
There you go. That sounds good.
Run that past the CFO and COO. See if we get a clearance on that.
Well, we're trying to get her to Philadelphia right now. So that's
absolutely.
We're planning a trip to Philadelphia because she's in Ohio. I'm in Philly. I'm like, well, you gotta get to Philly.
I love Philly. I miss Philly.
We gotta get you down. We'll do coffee.
No, okay. I'm in.
Hey, I will be there in June.
Okay,
we'll make it happen.
For sure.
We'll make it happen. Absolutely. Hey, everyone's invited. All 30 listeners of the podcast.
Drinks are on, Seth.
I like it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry, and I'll edit this, tighten this up right here because I have a lot.
What?
I'll tighten up this little gap in here.
Okay, that's probably good. That's probably good. Kerry, this has been absolutely amazing. Final thoughts. What is the one thing that you would tell someone who's going out there and who's getting ready to do it and they're scared and they're stepping out of their corporate? What is your one piece of advice?
Okay, if you were getting, did you say to hold on?
No, I said love that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, edit that too. I would say if you are getting ready to make the leap, there's a couple of things that I would suggest. Number one, start to build yourself a runway. I left the news business without having a plan or a runway, and I wish I would have put or been able to put more thought into that before I left. I would have spent more time while I still had a really large platform, meaning the TV broadcast, to build up my social media. And there's a number of other things that I would have done as well, mainly networking while I am still somebody who's on TV and perhaps had, access to different people than I do now. Although I to some degree, think my network has opened even further at this stage. The other thing that I would say is make sure you have a little nest egg. I'm lucky that I have my husband who has a great job as a pilot with Delta, and without his support over the past 2 years, I don't know how this would have happened. So be aware that unless you happen to find lightning in a bottle, it's going to be a tough road for at least 6 months, probably a little bit longer. So
mine was 13 years.
I was gonna say it's gonna take a couple of years, probably.
Yeah,
that's
my slog was like, I would say 10 years.
Yeah, and did you ever were you ever like, man, what the hell am I doing, and why?
I got a corporate job for a year and a half.
Yeah,
and ran screaming from it.
Did you? You hated it. I just said to my husband the other day.
I'm a complete wackadoo. I can't.
I love it.
No, I can't. I don't know how to. Who's tush to kiss at what time?
No,
I can't do that.
Everybody's.
Yeah, exactly. It's just tough. So it's tough. 13. Goldstein is 13 years old. The first version 1 of Goldstein Media. Dumpster fire. Version 2 after coming back from corporate America, where I learned a few things.
Yeah.
Doing better.
Smaller dumpster fire?
Yeah. I mean, the first 3 years of the 5 after corporate was a dumpster fire still, but now it's
oh God.
I'm finally getting the hang of it.
I love it.
Entrepreneurs are a special kind of crazy.
No,
they're my favorite people ever, but we are a special kind of crazy.
Yes.
Exactly. 100%. So Kerry, where can we find you online? What's the best spot?
Boy, the best spot, you can find me on my website, kerrybarrettconsulting.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram. And I've got a new digital product coming out as well. It is launching on April 22nd. It is, of course, a DIY turbocharge your business with DIY marketing video. There's a masterclass that comes out first, and then it is a massive amount of content, everything from gear and editing and lighting and captions to crafting your message and scripting it and reading off a teleprompter, location scouting, SEO, strategy, distribution, how to use the whole 9 yards. That is awesome. So much more. So you can find information on that on my website as well. And if you're interested in finding out when the masterclass drops, shoot me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I'll make sure that you're on the list so you get the registration link for that masterclass when it goes live.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yes, yes. This has been so much fun.
Thank you.
Jen, Kerry, this is a blast. Make sure you follow Kerry on LinkedIn. It's a hoot. It's the best. You learn so much stuff. And you get a good laugh in the process, a good laugh. We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. But
that's what I always tell myself.
Fridays are awesome. I love tuning into Fridays because it's real. It's real. It's what it is. It's life, and it's awesome. I appreciate that.
A good crew.
So we want to shout out to Breezy Masks for keeping us covered in the craziness of 2020 and 2021 because that's wear those masks, people.
Yep.
Check the link in the show notes for that. We want to thank Alex Hillman, who was at the top of the show, for his book, Tiny MBA. We'll have to get Kerry a copy of that book. That's a nice little book there.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying the season, please feel free to give us a review in Apple Podcasts or the podcast directory of your choice. Podchaser is really a good place to put one in there because it seems like there's a lot more people on Android that don't look at Apple Podcasts. So feel free to put it in a non-walled garden there. You can check us out over there. You can leave us a review. Also, we have a community, which I think I sent Kerry an invite to as well. Community.dmd.fm. Check us out over there. Join in. Please talk to me. I'm lonely. I put up a lot of good content in there, people. Please join in. It's going good. Also, email us hello@digitalmarketingdive.com, and we will see you next week.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.